The movie opens with a montage of Paris. But beyond appreciating its beauty, we have to wait for the day to pass and night to fall, because that's where our adventure and our protagonist's journey truly begins. Gil Pender. His name, by pure coincidence, has French roots but comes from Latin. Its exact meaning is debated, shifting between the protected one, the chosen one, or he who is under the aegis. But we don't really need to pick just one. Each definition perfectly captures Gil's role in the film. He will be protected from an evil that lurks within the movie and within the modern world. No, it's not nostalgia. Not only because that's not the angle we're exploring today, but also because I'm not entirely sure I'd call it an evil. Sure, just like any addiction, it can be harmful in large doses. But at the same time, it's exactly what allows our protagonist to become the protected one. After all, nostalgia can't exist unless you feel you've lost something valuable in the first place. And by recognizing that value, Gil becomes the man under the aegis. In this case, the aegis of art. Throughout the entire film, we see Gil captivated by art, by Paris itself, its architecture, and how it feeds his soul as he wanders through museums and bookstores, even though he can't help but fall into that false evil of nostalgia. I go back to my point. That is not the real villain here. The true evil in this movie is what Gil Pender calls a pseudo-intellectual at the beginning. What the tour guide at the Rodin Museum calls pedantic, and what I like to call art's Trojan horse. It enters this world with a grand announcement, thinking it's the crème de la crème, when it's actually just the enemy in disguise. In the film, this is embodied by the obnoxious character of Paul, this guy who thinks of himself as a true admirer and connoisseur of art and culture, is nothing but a fraud. If he met God face to face, he'd probably recite verses of the Old Testament back to him. Paul thinks he understands art just because he knows facts. He knows things the rest of us don't, feeding his ego like a flat earther. He knows the exact year every painting was finished, who the sculptors were married to, and even the vintage year of every wine. He is the prime example of those people who think they're smarter just because they memorize trivia devoid of substance. He's one of those guys who overhears a fact once and brags about it to everyone, genuinely believing it places them on a higher intellectual plane. In the art world, these are the people who watch an interview of a mediocre director explaining their own movie. They memorize the simple, step-by-step recipe to understand the piece, and suddenly feel their IQ and culture have skyrocketed. They think understanding cinema means knowing that a certain scene was improvised. They reduce The Godfather to the superficial trivia that whenever an orange appears, someone is about to die, which isn't even true, making it a self-parody. They are only capable of seeing the surface, never grasping the concepts or unraveling an actual idea. Don't get me wrong, dropping a fun fact as trivia or just to spark a conversation is perfectly fine. It's natural. The mistake lies in thinking that minor trivia is a core truth and believing that knowing it makes us intellectually superior rather than just something we luckily stumbled upon. Similarly, I don't want people to think I judge those who only look at the surface rather than the deeper concepts. It is the most natural, respectable thing in the world to think Titanic is just a story about a boy and a girl falling in love, that Die Hard is just a Bruce Willis action movie in a building, and that The Exorcist is simply about a girl possessed by a demon. The mistake is considering yourself intellectually or culturally superior, if that concept even exists, without being able to read between the simplest lines without Googling them first. Honestly, I think it's wrong to judge your own cultural worth against anyone else's. And I'm being completely sincere here. I don't consider myself culturally superior to any of these pedantic snobs, though I must admit morally superior I do. Yet, this modern enemy, personified by Paul, suffers from a greater tragedy. Despite claiming to know so much about art, he doesn't just fail to understand it. Worse, he doesn't even enjoy it. He walks the streets of Paris, looks at the paintings in the Orangerie, the statues by Rodin, and drinks French wine. But he never truly sees the stunning Parisian architecture, never gets lost in Monet's water lilies, and never takes a single minute to actually think alongside the thinker. He offers to critique Gill's novel, not to read it or analyze it, to critique it. He doesn't even taste the wine, he just talks over his audience, spouting trivia that goes in one ear and out the other, swirling his glass and smelling it frantically without ever taking a sip. This is where we see the ultimate contrast with our protagonist. Gill spent the whole time trying to block out the noise, genuinely delighting in everything he encountered. Gill is the one writing the novel the other wants to critique. He is the creator. Because he is protected from this intellectual evil, he can see the symbol behind a piece of work, unraveling it and truly understanding it. Gill is ignored every time he tries to contribute during those tours with Paul and his wife. Ignored not just by the characters, but by the camera itself, which literally leaves him out of the frame at times. Because what he has to say doesn't matter. He doesn't have Paul's credentials. I think this is what Woody Allen is trying to tell us. People don't care about what is being said about art. They care about who is saying it. That's why his wife can't join him on his time-traveling journeys to the Golden Age. Gill can meet Fitzgerald and Hemingway because he already knows them through the only thing that should matter to us about an artist, their work. That's why, when they're leaving the Rodin Museum and his wife asks if he had read a biography on Rodin, as if she'd finally validate him for doing something smart, Gill replies, "Why would I read a biography of Rodin?" No one cares. Or rather, no one should care what Rodin did in his personal life. We should care about what his work tells us. It makes you think that Paul would be the first person to claim we shouldn't watch Woody Allen movies anymore because of his media scandals. While one guy sniffs, swirls, and talks about a wine, the other can't grab enough glasses to taste them all at once. Maybe that's not what some expert reading this, someone like Paul, would recommend. But in my opinion, it is undeniably the best and smartest way to enjoy things and life itself. I will always stand by the working parent who comes home, puts on an action flick or a thriller, laughs, and completely loses themselves in the movie. And I stand by those of us who, while doing that, also try to glimpse what lies beyond. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't. But the people who actually learn to enjoy things are the truly intelligent ones, not the pedants who think they understand the pieces of something they could never build themselves. That is the biggest lesson Gil Pender and Midnight in Paris left me with. For this, and many other reasons, it remains one of my favorite movies. Thank you forever, Woody Allen.
Okay, you're on your way home right now?
Yes.
Can I walk with you, or I'll buy you a cup of coffee, or okay, now it's starting to rain.
No, but that's okay. I don't mind getting wet.
Really?
Yeah. And actually, Paris is the most beautiful in the rain.
I feel like that's what I'm always saying. I couldn't agree more with you. Yes, it is more beautiful.
By the way, my name is Gabrielle.
Gil. Yes.
Nice to meet you.
It's a pretty name.